Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics/Non-Classics. This is episode number 1848 and Doubleshot number 1742. I got two Western trades. Now, when it comes to Western characters, the only one I've ever talked about is Jonah Hex. Yep, now we're discussing a different popular Western character, an older character than Jonah Hex. Jonah Hex around since the 1970s. This character is around since the 1930s. And this actually was the very first trade that was collected for his time at Dynamite. Now, this was released back in 2006, roughly about 6 years before, actually 7 years before they did the movie with Johnny Depp as Tonto. I'll get to more in a minute. Alright, it is basically the first trade of the Lone Ranger. Hi-ho, Silver! Away! He said it in the original show. He did not say it in the comic. Nope, he's never said that line. Not in here. Yeah. Now, the thing with the comic, a little bit of his backstory in here of how he became Lone Ranger, which they actually showed here in real time. Basically, he is not Lone Ranger with the first issue. Oh no, this is basically a fresh start to the Lone Ranger, a complete reboot of the character. And here's a fun fact for you about my family and the Lone Ranger. My grandfather, who is still very much alive, he watched the original Lone Ranger TV show when it aired back in the 1950s. Yes, with Clayton Moore. Yes, he remembers him. As a matter of fact, for Christmas one year, I actually gave him a Lone Ranger DVD, which, no, it's not from the movie that came out a decade ago. Not that one. The original Clayton Moore episodes in black and white. Despite the fact some of my family members didn't like the fact I gave that to him, but he loved it because he's a big Lone Ranger fan. Yeah, I have another grandfather who actually, he since passed away. As a matter of fact, this year marked at least 14 years since he passed away. Actually, it was 16 years since he passed away. Where he actually grew up listening to the Shadow radio show. Yep, he listens to Shadow on radio. Well, another grandfather watched the Lone Ranger TV. Big Lone Ranger fan. If you're curious how old he is, my grandpa is like, let's see, I think he's like 84. No, he is like, I think it's like 87. I think he is. Yeah, just this year he just turned 87, and he's in okay health. He's basically taking on my grandmother now as full-time caretaker. But in the case of this book, this is a fresh start to the character. Like, we see him with his brother Dan, which I'd have had. Now, I only knew about the Lone Ranger backstory via the movie. Now, the movie, I would say, it partially adapted that, where he's basically his brother as a ranger, the Lone Ranger, who he was a Texas Ranger, who gets killed by this corrupt official, which in the movie is somebody else. They'll involve trains, whatever. It's kind of weird. And Tonto was portrayed by Johnny Depp movie. A casting choice that the movie got a lot of flack for, and it was made by Disney. Yes. Now, I should point out, though, that when I heard the original guy who played Tonto was a legit full-blooded Native American, while Johnny Depp is a quarter Native American on his grandmother's side of the family. Yep. So basically, you could say, nope, he was not Native American, he just claimed to be one. And it is one of the most Lapo roles he ever did. And by the way, the Lone Ranger was played by Armie Hammer. Well, I think he did an okay job playing the character. Yes, I think he did. I think Tonto was the worst thing about the movie, aside from the stupid plot. Lone Ranger himself was perfectly fine. The case of this, basically, he basically is wounded along with his brother in an ambush, and so he takes his brother's badge, and we also see where he gets his mask from. It's not mentioned if his horse is named Silver or not. That's one thing the book does not explain. He does form his longtime partnership with Tonto. This is the formation of that. Also, in case you're curious, though, does he call him Kemosabe like he does in the show? No, there's no mention of it at all. He just calls simply the Lone Ranger. He's never to as Kemosabe. Nope. That was the thing that, from what I've heard, that's what Tonto would call a Lone Ranger. Yes, Kemosabe. That is what Tonto would call a Lone Ranger in the show. And of course, yeah, but this is more of a series take of the character. And this book is written by Brent Matthews, who actually wrote on the Buffy Vampire TV show. And the artwork is mostly done by one artist. Yeah, originally this was a mini-series, they'll expand to an ongoing series. The guy who does the entire work, this is Sergio Calido, which is really good. The cover is done by John Cassidy. Yes. I mean, look at this gorgeous artwork. Yes, this is really freaking good. This book is also, it's a great start to Lone Ranger comic book by Dynamite. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Yes. Oh yeah, and here's something interesting though. About this book, this particular one. Prior to beginning this trade, I had never read this one before. Nope, never have. Excuse me. Why haven't I read it before? Because it wasn't a high priority for me to read it. I do like the character. The only thing I have read featuring Lone Ranger in it was that team-up miniseries he had with his great nephew, the Green Hornet. Yep, they confirmed it's basically canon via the radio show, and the comic, a lot of the time, basically, is never really brought up very much because usually the Green Hornet, a lot of the time, is depicted in modern day, not usually depicted in the pulp era, a lot of the time. All right, moving on to a different comic we have. What's the comic we have? Marvel 1872. Now, this being a Secret Wars book, it doesn't really feel like a tie-in. For one thing, there's no mention of Doctor Doom. There's no Thors in here. It's just Western versions of popular. You can kind of think of it similar to that of Marvel 1602, where it simply puts the Western versions of popular heroes. The sheriff of the town is Captain America. The mayor is the Kingpin. Peter Parker has got a residence here. He doesn't really do much anything here in this book. Apparently, Wonder Man is here. Yes, Wonder Man is in the book. He doesn't do very much at all. Carol Danvers is in the book, and she basically works with Red Wolf in the book. Now, the Red Wolf appears in the book would actually return after this miniseries wraps up, believe it or not, in a short-lived ongoing series by Nathaniel Emerson, who then move over to Occupy Avengers right after that. Yep. And basically, of Steve Rogers saving this engine. Now, I should point out, though, that particular slang for Native American, that is 19th century racism. There's also there's a lot. Apparently, Duggan himself threw a lot of 19th century, like racism, but of sexism in here, too. Like you see Western versions of Tony Stark, who puts on a version of the Iron Man armor with a Punisher skull as a helmet, which I thought that was kind of weird. Frank Castle's in here, except he's a pastor. Yes, the Punisher is a pastor. And he goes after... Now, apparently, the main villain of the miniseries is Wilson Fisk. Now... And by the way, the town is called Timely, which is named after Timely Comics. Yeah, it's like this book is a bunch of Easter eggs related to Marvel Comics themselves with the West versus these characters. As a matter of fact, the river nearby the town of Timely is called Kirby River, presumably named after the late Jack the King Kirby, who practically created almost all the characters in this miniseries, with the exception of Red Wolf and Spider-Man. He had nothing to do with Spider-Man at all. And by half of this miniseries, Captain America is killed. Well, let's call him Sheriff Rogers is murdered by Bullseye. I am not kidding about that. They also have a lecture pop up in here, except she's not Greek, she's Japanese. And in case you're curious, though, do they refer to her as someone the yellow? No, there's no mention of that at all. Though also, in the case of Red Wolf, how he's first picking this book, later books, he's picking much more red clothing. Yeah, for some reason, they try to hang him. Oh, by the way, they do call him a Redskin. Yes, they call him a Redskin. At least Steve Rogers would be a pretty decent character. And the way they have him pictured here, is they have him basically with the face paint, the necklace. And look, here's Wilson Fisk, who's, for some reason, I have no idea why the artist did this for. The outfit he wears here is pretty much mostly what he wears regularly, except no ascot. And apparently the governor of the territory is Raxon, and apparently Steve Rogers' partner was Bucky Barnes. Oh yeah, the Vision is here, and he's just this fortune teller thing. Yes, the Vision is here. Oddly enough, there's no version of like the Scarlet Witch in here. Nope. But this miniseries is so fun. Like, if you're a fan of long-time horror comics, and you probably would like the Easter eggs in here. Mm-hmm. It, for a miniseries tied to Secret Wars, it basically it's its own continuity. There's nothing related to the fact it's on Battle World, but it's standalone. It tells a good story. Carol Danvers becomes basically co-sheriff with Red Wolf. And then right as this miniseries wraps up, Red Wolf is transported to modern day in his own brief solo book. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. Yep. He transported to modern day, gets an ongoing series, produced by Avengers, and just doesn't do very much after that. Mm-hmm. So by the way, this is a new version of Red Wolf. This is not the first Western Red Wolf ever existed in more comics. This actually is the second one, believe it or not. Yes, it is. And you're thinking, how the heck is that possible? Well, you see, the Red Wolf, because nowadays, he's basically for Red Wolf. He doesn't technically have a real name. It's his actual name. The most familiar one is William Taltrees. He's the most familiar one of all the Red Wolves. Yes, he's the one basically first appeared in Avengers 80, which they do include in this trade here, along with Marvel Comics Presents number 170, which I believe is a story that features him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for some reason they threw this story in there because it's a Red Wolf story, so why the heck not? Now, if you're curious, there's any hero besides this one? Well, there's Waldron of Kang's Argonauts. He's from like 1760, and there's John Welke, Hero of the Old West. And he first appeared back in Marvel Spot number 1. Then we have his great grandson who actually has his own brief ongoing series. He only had just very few appearances. Mm-hmm. And they see one from the Hercules book. No joke. Yeah. But not much else to say about these two trades. Both good. So yeah, that's it. Particular review. So next review is going to be. Oh, by the way, with thanks to reviewing this book, like all the stuff that go to Red Wolf and Civil War II: The Oath, and that's it. I actually think I may have reviewed this one already. So I think it's just a Red Wolf miniseries. That'd be pretty much it. The brief ongoing series of Red Wolf, and that'd be pretty much it for Red Wolf himself. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's it. Sick of you. Next one's going to be Case Closed. Okay, next video. Bye.